Good afternoon. I'd like to call this Governance Committee of Council to order. It's April 15th, 2026. I'm Councillor Debbie Sharma, Chair of this committee. Joining me is Councillor Jeff Brawadi, Councillor Madillard, and Councillor Sean Dobson, along with our City Clerk, Mr. Carlos Camero, and our Deputy City Clerk, Andrew Poitras. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. Councillor Brawadi, will you move the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. We have two items on the agenda today.
Madam Speaker, I'd still like to move leave of absence motion for Councillor Orlico for a personal family matter.
Thank you. Leave of absence motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Two items on the agenda. First is the establishment of an audit committee and citizen member appointment process. Mr. Clerk, summary.
So as the committee is aware, back in March of 2025, Council approved recommendations from the Governance Committee to transfer existing jurisdiction over all audit matters from Executive Policy Committee to a new audit committee. The intent was to have the committee comprised of members, which included the mayor, that would be chair, two non-APC members, and two citizen members, one with a legal designation and the other with an accounting designation. And the council decision also directed the public service to report back with recommendations on the appointment process for the citizen members. The report that's before committee today is recommending an amendment to that decision. The committee could have been comprised of citizen members, but if it did have citizen members, it would essentially be an advisory committee, which I believe was content, or rather contrary to the intent of the creation of the audit committee. This report is recommending that section be amended to have the two citizen members act in advisory capacity. So they would still receive the same information as the committee. They would be coming to meetings. They would have the ability to ask questions, provide commentary. The only difference is that they would not be able to vote and would not be formal decision makers. That would rest with the elected officials, being the mayor and the two non-EPC members that would be on the executive or rather on the committee. So to that end, we would still facilitate a recruitment process. We would probably, since giving the time of year, we would probably be including them as part of the boards and commissions process. And then those recommendations would be coming directly from the governance committee that would make submissions up to executive policy committee and council for final approval. There is also a terms of reference that is attached to the report. The terms of reference essentially points out the duties and talks about the amount of terms, and it'll be two staggered terms in order to ensure consistency on the committee, so that both members don't have their terms expiring at the same time, and also some other information regarding remuneration and a few other items.
Thank you. When is the next recruitment for the boards and commissions?
We will begin the process in August, and then the recommendations giving that it is an election year probably would be going to council in January.
In January?
Yes.
Recruitment of council members would take place after the general election?
Yes. And then as part of this process, because again, we are looking for individuals with specific set of skill set and criteria, we would be doing targeted advertising as well, as apart from the boards and commissions webpage on the City of Winnipeg's website. We would be going out to the organization's formal professions sites and advertising on there. Law Society of Manitoba as an example.
Any further questions?
Madam Chair, if I can make some comments.
Yes.
Perhaps also move the Winnipeg Public Service recommendation with thanks to the public service for their work on this. It's been, I guess, a long time coming, but it was so that the I's could be dotted and T's crossed, and I think we have a good report here. And I think with this creation of a new committee that's dedicated to audit. I think that it will provide enhanced oversight of the city of Winnipeg, and having that look of the two non-executive policy committee councillors, I think will also be an added benefit to have more people at the decision-making table, and this through an oversight lens. So with that, I'm happy to move forward or move this motion, and hoping for the support of Council Colley. And I think if this goes through, we're going to have enhanced oversight of the city through the audit committee.
Thank you, Councillor Lord. And this is something you worked hard on as well. We brought this forward through the governance review that we had not too long ago. So thanks for your efforts. Any other comments? Okay, we'll call the question then to concur in the recommendation of the public service moved by Councillor Lard. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Next is item 2, annual report of the Integrity Commissioner for the period of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. We have Ms. Walsh here with us in the gallery. I'd like to ask her to join us. Mr. Clerk, would you like to comment before we hear the annual report?
No comment, Madam Speaker. Again, this is just an annual requirement of the members of council code of conduct that the Integrity Commissioner provides an annual report that goes up to council through this committee.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Walsh.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You have my report, so I'm not going to read it. I will just comment on a few of the highlights. This is, well, I'm pleased to present my report for the period January 1 to December 31, 2025. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of Councillor Jason Schreier. Councillor Schreier served his constituents with integrity and dedication, and I offer my condolences to his family. It was always a pleasure to work with him. In this report, I describe the work my office carried out in 2025, which included providing advice to members, receiving and assessing complaints alleging that a member has breached the code, conducting education sessions for members on matters relating to the code, and engaging with members of the public about the ethical expectations that are required of members under the code. The fact that there was a by-election in October provided an opportunity to give members advice about election-related activity, and I was also able to provide orientation and education about the code and my role to the newly elected member of council. I can say that in all my dealings with the members during the period covered by this report, I found them to be respectful and fully cooperative with my office. And based on those dealings, I'm pleased to report that in the 8 years, well, now 9 as I'm sitting here, since I first started in this role, the members have demonstrated an ongoing willingness to perform their duties of office in compliance with the expectations of ethical behavior that are essential to the fair and effective operation of government. So I start by commenting on the advice that I provided to members. The Integrity Commissioner's ability to provide advice is one of the most effective aspects of the role. In 2025, I provided advice to members on 21 occasions on a variety of topics, including issues relating to fundraising, election-related activity, and acceptance of gifts. I set out examples of 7 occasions where I provided advice in this report. And members have told me in the past that they do read this and they find guidance in it. I also set out examples of where I provided information or advice to all the members of council to bring areas of interest to them. And at page 10, I comment that I brought to the members' attention the fact that the Association of Manitoba Municipalities had recently issued a toolkit for supporting municipalities to address anti-government hate and harassment. It's also interesting to note that the public conduct policy that the City of Ottawa has put in place that applies to all city employees and to members of council and governs their ability to restrict interaction with a member of the public where necessary. And of course, that would never be done lightly. And it is something, as I told the members, that was covered in the social media advisory bulletin that I have published. The enforcement section of the code requires that each member meet with the Integrity Commissioner at least once annually in order to discuss their obligations under the code. And in 2025, I had an opportunity to speak individually with each member of council and was able to engage in frank and intelligent discussions with them about matters relating to the code. Of course, with respect to complaints, the code says that complaints alleging a member has breached the code can be made both formally and informally. The Integrity Commissioner will only consider investigating a complaint that has been made formally. In 2025, I received a total of 18 complaints, 12 formal and 6 informal. Of the 12 formal, one was clearly on its face outside my jurisdiction to consider, and I advised the complainant in writing of that fact. One complaint which was submitted to me at the end of 2025 remains outstanding because the complainant advised that they had more information they wanted me to receive. The other 10 formal complaints were dismissed after I conducted a preliminary assessment because there were no grounds for conducting an investigation or because it was unlikely that the complaint would succeed. And 5 of those complaints were made about the same incident. I outlined that there were several complaints and investigations from 2024 which were completed or resolved in 2025, including one matter that I had accepted for investigation. That complaint was resolved in 2025 after the member voluntarily apologized to the complainants. Based on the discussions I had with the member during the course of addressing that complaint and the fact that they voluntarily apologized, I determined that the goals of the code had been satisfied and there was no reason to proceed with the investigation. As I always stress, the complaint process in the code, in my view, is intended to be remedial rather than punitive. And I'm always glad to see that a member has engaged with me to gain a better understanding of their responsibilities under the code, something which in this case I believe was satisfied. I was also contacted on 6 occasions by members of the public. I am always available to provide general information about the code to members of the public, but I will never comment on a specific matter unless, of course, I have published a report about the matter to council. In the period covered by this report, I also provided council with advice and guidance on fundraising and acceptance of sponsorships and donations for members-run community events. One of the main principles that arises when one looks at fundraising is the importance of avoiding misusing a member's influence, and in particular making a targeted request of a potential donor. And that's something that is consistent in codes across the country as something to avoid. After conducting my cross-jurisdictional analysis, my colleague and I provided an education session to all the members in the fall and about fundraising activity. It was well attended and allowed for a lively and informative discussion. And I want to pause to point out that I've always enjoyed the many opportunities that I've had over the years to engage in these sessions with all of the members as a whole. I think that it provides an excellent opportunity for mutual understanding between my office and the members. Excuse me. It gives me a chance to understand the members' concerns and to give advice on how to apply the code in a pragmatic way. And it gives members a chance to better understand the underlying rationale for my recommendations about how to meet their ethical standards. After holding that education session, it was determined that rather than looking to amend the code any further with respect to fundraising, I would provide guidance by publishing a bulletin, an advisory bulletin on the topic of fundraising and sponsorships for member-run events. And of course, now here we are in 2026, I did publish that bulletin a few weeks ago. So that is something that the members have to look at and rely on for guidance. With respect to sponsorships and donations for community events run by members, under the code, the members' ability to receive sponsorships and donations for events, community events that they run or that are run on their behalf, is permitted as an exception to the general prohibition on members' ability to accept gifts and benefits. The exception in the rule relating to gifts and benefits says that members are allowed to accept sponsorships and donations for community events organized or run by a member or a third party on behalf of a member. And I define the term community event to mean an event that a member holds for the benefit of their ward or their constituents. But accepting a sponsorship or donation from someone in the public can still give rise to the same concerns that accompany fundraising activity. For example, the potential to create an expectation on the part of the donor that they can secure a future advantage from a member to whose community event they make a donation. Currently, the Code of Conduct does not provide any regulation about how those kinds of donations and sponsorships could be received. In jurisdictions across the country where those are allowed, they also have either a mandatory policy that must be followed or a provision in their code that regulates how and in what circumstances a member can accept or solicit a donation or sponsorship for an event that they are running, so as to avoid, for instance, accepting a sponsorship from someone who has an active application before council or from a lobbyist. So I have in the annual report a recommendation to council. And this is after consulting with this committee. I recommend that unless council wants to formally put such regulation in place by, for instance, amending the code to place restrictions on members' ability to accept sponsorships or donations for the community events they run, the best way to avoid the concerns, the potential harm associated with receiving or obtaining such donations and sponsorships is simply to remove that one exception from the rule prohibiting the acceptance of gifts and benefits. I also comment in the annual report on education. Education, of course, is an important aspect of the Integrity Commissioner's role, and the education session that we had about fundraising activity in the fall is a good example of that type of education that my office can provide. Over the course of the last year, I updated the Integrity Commissioner's page on the website, and I want to express my thanks to Kate McMillan of the Clerk's Office for her gracious and expert assistance with all matters relating to the website that she has provided me over the last 9 years. In terms of other meetings, the contract for my services requires that I consult with the Director of Legal Services at the city to make recommendations for legislative changes as deemed necessary to most efficiently carry out the role of the Integrity Commissioner or such other matters under the Integrity Commissioner's jurisdiction. And so in compliance with this requirement, I have, over the years since I was first appointed in 2017, met with respective directors of legal services on several occasions. I met again with the current director in the summer of 2025 to discuss some of the legislative changes that I think could be sought from the province to strengthen the Integrity Commissioner's role. And those include things like giving the Integrity Commissioner subpoena powers when they conduct their investigation, similar to what the city auditor has under the City of Winnipeg Charter Act, or legislative assurance that communications between the Integrity Commissioner and others are confidential. I also met with council for the inquiry into the construction of the police headquarters that is currently taking place at her request to give her information about the steps that council has taken to enhance its ethics and accountability framework since the events that are the subject of that inquiry took place. And in fact, I have been requested to testify about those various efforts that council has taken and any recommendations that I have for enhancing the framework. As I have done over the last many years, throughout the reporting period, I engaged with colleagues from other jurisdictions. It's a very valuable network of colleagues, and I can continue to be able to report that I hear comments, favorable comments about the framework that Winnipeg has put in place and how your code of conduct works and is enforced. I set out information about my budget, and the provision of my services stayed within the budget parameters, as it has done in every year. Finally, with respect to the voluntary lobbyist registry, the Integrity Commissioner has oversight over that registry. In 2025, 3 lobbyists registered their lobbying activities relating to meetings with members of council and members of the public service. And I do note that there has been a decrease each year since the registry was established in the number of lobbyists who choose to register their activities. And this is Probably not surprising given the voluntary nature of the registry, but I still encourage lobbyists to register their activity, and I encourage the members of council and the public service to remind lobbyists to do so. So in conclusion, enforcing and upholding ethical standards requires vigilance, not only from elected officials, but also from members of the public and the public service. And I therefore want to thank all of the individuals who engaged with my office during the last year. I especially want to thank the City Clerk, Carlos Gamera, and the Deputy City Clerk, Andrew Quadras, for the generous assistance they have given me in navigating municipal policies and procedures, and for their continued good humor in doing so. I am, as always, very grateful for the relationship that we have established of mutual respect and independence. Thank you. This is the 9th annual report that I've had the privilege to present to Council. And as you know, it is, with regret, my last, because as of May 1, I will be moving into the position of Ethics Commissioner for the province of Manitoba. I say with regret because serving as the city's first Integrity Commissioner has been a privilege and a pleasure and a highlight of my professional life. 9 years ago, the members of Winnipeg City Council were trailblazers in establishing the Office of the Integrity Commissioner and in passing a new code of conduct by which they agreed to be governed, all with the goal of promoting the public's confidence in the democratic process. It was an honor to have been part of that journey from its start. I am grateful for the confidence that you, the members of council, have placed in me these years, and I wish you all the best in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walsh, for those remarks and for your report. It's very detailed. I know the committee's had a chance to go over it. Are there any particular questions? Anything we'd like her to elaborate on?
Right in the board.
Not at this time. Thank you for the detailed report. You can stand down if you like, or yeah.
Thank you.
We're ready to move the report. Councillor Bawadi, will you take the chair?
Sure.
Oh, my apologies.
I want to put some comments on the public record as we always do. This is an important topic and something council takes very seriously. So before speaking to the annual report from the Integrity Commissioner, I'd like to first express our sincere thanks to Ms. Walsh for her dedicated service as the City of Winnipeg's first Integrity Commissioner. As we all know, at the end of the month, Ms. Walsh will be moving on to a new role as the Provincial Ethics Commissioner. While we are certainly sorry to see her leave the City of Winnipeg, we're also very pleased for her as she takes this important next step in her professional journey. Ms. Walsh was appointed as the City of Winnipeg's first Integrity Commissioner back in 2017. In that role, she was instrumental in the establishment of the Members of Council Code of Conduct and in shaping this position into what it is today. She has served Council admirably over the past 9 years, and I want to sincerely thank her for that contribution. Turning to the 2025 annual report before us, it outlines the work Ms. Walsh undertook over the past year. This included responding to and investigating complaints, proposing amendments to the Members of Council Code of Conduct, and providing guidance and advice to members of council on a range of matters. In 2025, Ms. Walsh received 21 requests from members of council seeking advice on various topics. As noted in her report, she responded to each inquiry within 1 or 2 days. That level of responsiveness is notable and reflects the value of having timely access to independent advice when members are navigating issues related to the Code of Conduct and their responsibilities in office. The report also provides several examples of the advice given to members of council throughout the year, as well as examples of complaints that were received and investigated. Together, these examples help illustrate both the range of the Integrity Commissioner's work and the important role the position plays. I also want to take this opportunity to remind all members of council that one of the key roles of the Integrity Commissioner is to provide advice and guidance. Members should not hesitate to reach out when they require assistance or are seeking clarity on their obligations under the code. Once again, on behalf of my colleagues, I would like to extend sincere thanks to Ms. Walsh for the vital work she has done in her role as the Integrity Commissioner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments from the committee? No. Okay, I'll echo and agree with everything the speaker just said there. Thank you so much.
With the recommendation of the public service.
Okay, the motion's been heard. All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I'll give the chair back to you. Or do you want me to keep the chair?
The next item. Yes. I do have a matter, Mr. Acting Chair of New Business.
Okay, so you'll move suspension of the rules to deal with an item of new business along the agenda. Okay, all's in favor? Ayes carried.
I'd like to circulate a motion here, Mr. Clerk. Has been shared with the committee.
Got a copy.
It's with respect to appointing an interim integrity commissioner. So you've got the motion there. And we'll read a portion of it into the record. I'd like to make some comments first, Mr. Clerk, if I may. With the departure of Ms. Walsh on April 30th, I would like to table a new business motion to appoint an interim integrity commissioner. Taking this step at this time will help ensure continuity in this important role until a permanent integrity commissioner can be appointed by council. The integrity commissioner plays a vital role in supporting good governance and accountability. Appointing an interim integrity commissioner will help ensure that members of council continue to have access to independent advice and guidance with respect to the code of conduct without interruption during this transition period. Accordingly, today I would like to move that we recommend to council the appointment of Kathleen Coots as interim integrity commissioner. Kathleen is a litigator with prior experience serving as an independent investigator and external counsel to the Manitoba Human Rights Commission. She also has experience conducting workplace investigations and providing advice related to the employment law for a range of private, institutional, and post-secondary clients. There's a lot of noise in the background, unfortunately. Her professional background reflects a strong foundation in matters requiring independence, sound judgment, and fairness. Given Kathleen's experience and qualifications, I believe she will serve council well in this interim capacity and provide the support and guidance needed while a longer-term appointment is considered. In addition to recommending Kathleen's appointment, I would also recommend that the city clerk be directed to undertake a recruitment process following the 2026 general election in order to recommend the appointment of a permanent integrity commissioner for this position. And that of course will need council's approval. Mr. Clerk, the motion that's been circulated, if we wanted to put some of the words on the public record, maybe the result.
So therefore be resolved that Kathleen Coots be appointed as our interim integrity commissioner effective May 1st, 2026 until March 31st, 2027, or until such time as determined by council. And number two, that's subject to the approval of recommendation 1, that the existing contracts for the integrity commissioner services be amended to implement recommendation 1 in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth herein and such other terms and conditions as deemed necessary by the city solicitor. And number 3, that the city clerk be directed to initiate a recruitment process for the appointment of the next City of Winnipeg Integrity Commissioner following the 2026 election. And 4, that the proper officers of the city be authorized to do all things necessary to implement the intent of the foregoing.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So in summary, Mr. Chair, it's really important that we have continuity and have that immediately. And that's what this motion does. And someone that has worked with Ms. Walsh is familiar with these type of files as I've outlined. So I'm pleased to move this motion. Hopefully we can get the concurrence of everyone on this committee and move it up to Executive Policy Committee and then on to Council.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Madam Speaker, for very quickly and proactively ensuring we have that continuity by making this recommendation. I appreciate that the members on this committee did have an opportunity to meet with Ms. Coots recently, and I am very confident that she'll be, in the interim role, be very capable of serving our council. Again, the role does change a little bit during the RIP period, but again, I think it is important to have that continuity. So again, thank you, Madam Speaker, for doing this. So I will be supporting the motion. Any other comments from the committee?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, motion's been heard then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
I'll give you the chair back to I'll move adjournment.
Council Barwadi moves adjournment. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, carried. Meeting's adjourned.